Hi, I'm Anna Berry with Exploring the Block at the Crypto Invest Summit in Los Angeles, and joining me is Vince McPhillip with PiNetwork.
Hello, everyone.
And we want to know what PiNetwork is. Why don't you explain it to us?
Absolutely. So PiNetwork is actually fueled by a new social cryptocurrency called Pi. And you can think of Pi as being a version of Bitcoin, but that's been reimagined for everyday people. So we've really kind of boiled cryptocurrency down to something that everyday people can use and have access to. And so
like me.
Exactly, right? So no mining rigs, no expensive investing, none of that. It's just a basic mobile application that anyone can download from your phone. We're on the Play Store and on the App Store, and you can, start earning Pi today.
Awesome. Like, let's use me as an example. Okay. I'm a normal everyday person that I don't do too much with crypto.
Yeah.
How would I do this, and break it down for me?
Absolutely. So the basic principle for us was that we needed to be able to allow people to come into crypto from the ground up, right? Not just kind of like buying Bitcoin when it was at 20,000, right? So what we did is that we created a new way in which you can mine cryptocurrency from a mobile phone. So for you, all you would have to do is go to our website, minepi.com. You download the mobile application, you go through a brief kind of intro, and then tap a button, and you're basically starting to earn the currency Pi.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
All right, so let's give everyone the website one more time.
Sure, it's minepi.com.
Awesome. Vince, thank you. This sounds really easy and user-friendly.
Yes.
And important, because this is something we should all get on.
Yes, crypto for everyday people like you and us.
Thank you so much. Thanks for joining us on Exploring the Block.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for watching.
We're going live. Okay,
yeah, we're going live.
Hey.
All right, we're live. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the CryptoCampfire podcast. Another short 20-minute episode here or so.
Right.
We're here with Vince McPhillip, and he is the head of community at Pi Network.
That's right.
Nice to talk to you
guys.
You
as well. Hey. You as well. This is pretty insane.
Yeah. It's been a wild few months on our end.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Bet.
Yeah.
How's your day starting at CIS?
So far so good. Yeah. I think I am based up in the Bay Area, so a little bit more Silicon Valley and coming out of Stanford and all that stuff. So what I always love about coming to LA is that you kind of get this huge injection of just creativity and art and just kind of different perspectives. So it's always nice and refreshing for me to be able to come and travel down here to LA.
It's neat to be here, actually.
It is. It's a lot of fun.
Time here,
so really? Good.
It's my first time here.
There's something interesting around every corner.
Absolutely. And I think that when it comes to kind of crypto and blockchain, actually, a lot of it has been more technical and kind of deep technology. And I think what's missing often in crypto and blockchain is actually a lot of what LA has to offer. It's storytelling, creativity, right? Like actually making this something that everyday people are going to be able to understand and embrace and bring into their lives. And so I think LA has a lot to offer to the space.
Sure. I think there's actually a lot of cities out there that have a lot to offer. They're just hidden gems right now, And I think the more people start to come together and actually unite and be more involved with one another in the space, you're going to see more and more of those areas popping up, and more meetups happening, and more education being spread. And that's
start
the
to
cool
get
part.
excited, and they start to talk, and they get together, and it's like that's part of the thing that we love to do with this podcast is embrace those different backgrounds. And
absolutely,
I mean, there's so many different aspects to any of these crypto projects. You got to have people from all the different backgrounds, and what better melting pot than these big cities? You got so many different people from so many different places.
Couldn't agree more. I mean, one of the biggest things, even with Pi, is a principle of just inclusivity, right? And the idea that crypto is such a multifaceted technology, right? It hits on everything, right? Like politics, economics, computer science, math, markets, literally everything, right? Everything. I mean, so it's we need people from all
social
over,
gatherings,
right?
different platforms that people can actually interact with.
Yeah, it's the most basic things, most basic kind of foundations and threads of society, and that's why we need people from all corners of the world, to be able to come in and contribute to it.
And that's kind of why we kind of formed our podcast on just the people.
Yeah.
Right? Because how else do you bring people together than
talk about people,
right? And talk about themselves and see how they got into crypto. And so, how did you get into cryptocurrency?
Oh, good question. So, my background has actually been pretty interesting. Like I've done mostly trying to figure out, like with all the big problems we have in the world today, right? We got major issues,
Sure.
right? I don't think anyone's going to doubt that. And I've always been kind of looking for ways in which I could help people come together to basically better tackle those issues, right? So that nobody needs to go to sleep hungry, so that everybody gets the education that they need, right? Just basic, everyone can get the healthcare that they need, just basic kind of like,
bring it back to self-supporting communities instead of the Overwatch communities,
that's
right?
Yeah,
the governed, so to speak. So governed and control are fine line right
Fine line, right? And so one thing that, has been a kind of common theme for me is that I've done a lot of kind of grassroots community organizing.
Oh my God.
Right?
This guy,
so
have you heard of Change Angel?
Yeah, I have.
Have you heard of the Seed Map?
No, I haven't heard of it.
Okay, so Red Cat Life started these seed cards, right?
Yeah.
And I think I have one.
What's up, James?
But they are Litecoin seed cards, right?
Yeah. Okay.
And this right here is a Litecoin seed card,
Oh,
right? And so
nice.
what we do, then there's multiple ones,
Yeah.
right? There's this guy named Mr. Trick on Twitter,
Yeah.
and he's made
Yeah.
a bunch of different QR code
Yep.
cards, and most of them are for non-ICO projects,
Right,
right?
yeah.
So they're all self-funded.
Yeah.
And this movement, right? This planting the seeds movement all started about 3 weeks ago.
Right.
And I'll show you the map here.
Yeah.
You see the
You
map,
see it down
and
here.
you can see, zoom out on that. You can actually see how. Look at this.
Wow.
Is that not insane or
that's
what?
cool. Wow.
So yeah, those are all the seeds that have been planted within 2 to 3 weeks time
Awesome.
already.
Wow.
Worldwide.
And how
We got
fast
Australia,
this
we got
movement
US.
has
Yeah.
become, right?
Wow.
The whole
So
center, yeah.
so Kat
That's cool.
and Paulie P had these ideas, right? And Change Angel grabbed the reins and ran
Yeah.
with it, and they created this map. And now it's just, we're getting it out to so many different
That's
people,
awesome.
right?
Wow.
So talk about grassroots and talk about spreading adoption for the right reasons.
That's
Yeah.
right.
And
Right?
talk about the
Right.
importance of networking and social media and the
Yes.
ability, because this spawned
Yeah.
from a tweet. So I said Change
Exactly.
Angel ran with it. Kat was posting pictures of her planting seeds.
Yeah.
And Paulie P, shout out to Paulie, said, "Why don't we put this on a map?" And
Right.
the next day, Change Angel had a map.
That's
Yeah.
cool.
It's
This
like-
is actually something that we'd be
amazing.
interested in, even with Pi. I mean,
And so, like, you could touch on any one of those
and see
the tweet. It'll
Yeah,
actually
that's
take you to
fun.
the link
Yeah.
to the tweet that planted that seed.
very cool.
Right? And you can zoom. Yeah, it's really insane.
Yeah,
so, like,
that's
that
cool,
one,
man. Wow.
This is a Paulie.
that's a
This will be
Poly
good
one, and there's the tweet that he sent along with it.
You can see the seed card that he put in there.
Wow.
Right?
Hey, I like this a lot, guys. Thank you.
It's
Yeah, it's
so much
beautiful.
fun. It's so much
it's
fun.
Yeah, so it's, I mean, talking a little bit about how this kind of intersects with Pi, I mean, one of the big things for us, and it looks like this is kind of one of the motivations here as well, is like, crypto is this, it's a movement, and it's one in which we want, the people that can most benefit, I think, are everyday people.
Yes,
Everyday
absolutely,
people,
absolutely.
Right? The people in these communities
The
around
average
the
Joe
yeah,
that's been
exactly.
supporting the higher structures
Exactly.
for all these
it's
years.
a way in which we can basically, kind of create space for those folks to be able to have their own voice, to be able to shape their own agenda, all that stuff, right? And so we basically built Pi to be a cryptocurrency that would be just for everyday people, because Bitcoin and Litecoin, they've blazed the way, right? They've showed us the way forward.
Yes.
And at the same time, for the everyday Joe, when it comes to actually mining the currency and earning the currency, you either got to have like a computer science degree with like you got to set up like a rig.
You got to know tech.
You got to know tech, right?
I'm a carpenter. I didn't know tech when I got into this.
Right.
Right.
So
I knew how to make a phone call.
Yeah, so that's one obstacle is tech. The next thing then is that if you don't want to have to mine it, then you got to pay for it. But that means like 4, 5, 6 months of rent.
Yes.
Right, for a single coin, for a single Bitcoin.
If you're going to buy a whole one.
If you're going to buy a whole
that's
one.
the beauty of this space,
Of
right?
course, you can get fractional amounts.
Fractional.
But what I'm saying, man, is that in the early days of Bitcoin, when those folks were mining, they were basically mining 10 Bitcoin every 10 minutes for basically no money.
Right.
And so I want to be able to give everyday people also that same type of opportunity. And so that's why we built Pi. And we've now, speaking of this map, it's like we've got 1 million people around the world.
Oh, wow.
Over the course of the last 6 months that are now mining this currency basically from our mobile phone application, PiNetwork.
Oh, wow.
And so it's very much kind of aligned with this idea of like, building a grassroots movement and also creating ways in which everyday people can actually participate in that movement and drive that movement forward.
Yes.
So is it mining from your phone in terms kind of like Electronium, where it's more of a simulated mining and it's not actually calculating the hashes?
Yeah. So right now so this takes a little bit of a double pick. So basically, in order to actually have this fully decentralized blockchain, which we're basically building, we're using a different type of consensus algorithm. It's actually based off of Stellar consensus protocol.
Nice.
Okay.
I don't know if you're familiar with it, but basically the way Stellar works is that instead of having to do proof of work mining, right, energy burn, essentially what people do there is you contribute information about who can be trusted in the world.
Right.
Okay, and it's a progressive voting process where you say, I only trust my mom and my aunt and my brother, and I'll only agree to transactions that they agree to. And then basically everybody comes on, they build their own quorums, right? And then that basically builds up into the trust graph. So right now, it is basically more of a simulation, right? As people are contributing information about who can and can't be trusted, but then you're also generating real information that will basically feed the consensus algorithm. It's going to be like you can think of it as like a globally or community stewarded trust graph that we can all use to basically say, okay, who can and can't write transactions to this ledger.
Now you guys are non-funded, right? I mean, you're no ICO.
No, we haven't done an ICO.
Okay.
We've actually a lot of the work to date has just been self-funded.
Oh, we can relate. Yes.
Yeah,
yes,
exactly.
absolutely.
Right. You know, and
it's investing ourselves and our resources to help the betterment of other people.
Exactly.
And eventually, in multiple facets, that comes back to us, right? It's that old saying, you do for somebody else and it's going to come back to you, right? And it's not about what comes back to you, but it's about the feeling you get from giving it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, the sense of accomplishment. You know, when you're doing it yourself and you're putting your own stuff out there on the line, it's coming out of your pocket, it's coming out of your sweat, your sweat equity. It's a whole different ballgame. You know?
Yeah.
So Ben from Change Angel,
it's an amazing
I'm
feeling.
sure you're watching this, and if you are, this gentleman right here, we are going to hook up, and we are going to get some definite joining of Change Angel and PiNetwork.
I think
for
there's
sure.
a lot of,
And we need to actually create some of these seed cards for these guys, right? And let's get them involved in the movement.
I love the concept of actually like physical, physical, because this is what it really comes down to, right? It comes down to conversation.
Sharing information.
Exactly, right? So I really like the idea of this kind of like physical card that people are able to exchange and actually share with each other.
Right.
So that's a pretty cool
and
idea.
plan for someone to find and go, what's
like,
this?
What the hell
and
is
all
this?
of a sudden they're looking into it, right?
That's
So like our
we're
Uber.
living in this digital world, we're talking about like trying to get new people in that are outside of this current world. So why would we try to get them in from inside of the world we're already in? We want go outside. If you want to get people from outside, go outside.
Right.
And so that means paper and in person and talking and
the same way people have been doing this for years and years and years.
But now we have technology on our side to be able to say, I just need to put this out there.
Yeah, exactly.
And somebody can pick this up and scan it.
What do you
and
do
know
with a
what the
QR
hell
code?
it
You
is.
scan it.
Right.
Right?
Yep.
Exactly.
That was why I love
So-
it. You put one on one of those bird scooters yesterday.
Yes.
And it was
You
perfect.
know,
Oh,
because
nice. Yeah.
So we're
like,
playing them all
doing?
over town, bro. You're going to
coming
see
up
some
to
of
the
these.
scooter,
You know?
ready to scan a
Right.
QR code.
Right.
And so there's another, you're going to scan it.
I like that.
Yeah.
Even getting a little mobility in
Right.
there. You know what I mean? Now people are
Exactly.
moving it around.
Yeah.
I really like that idea.
It's,
Actually.
and then our Uber driver today, we
That was
talked
good.
to him, and he's actually going to reach out to us. We're going to help him set up a wallet.
Oh,
We're gonna
great.
help him set up an
Good.
Exodus
Good,
wallet
good,
and
good,
transfer him. So this way, he can put a QR on his dashboard and start taking tips in crypto.
He was so
Right?
excited.
He was so excited.
Yeah.
Oh my god! And
Yeah.
so it's just little things like that. It just adds so much
you
amazement
gotta,
to your
You
day.
have to start, exactly. It's like you got to start somewhere, right?
Exactly.
It's
To
like,
see somebody lighten up,
Exactly.
you know, and just like,
And
wow,
that's
you're
the
going to
thing.
do this for me? Why?
So actually,
because we
you
want
know,
people to have
it's
it.
interesting with Pi, like, you know, I mentioned that we have like over 1 million people around the world that have like downloaded the application at this point. And one interesting thing about it also is that like we haven't spent like a dime on marketing, basically. It's all been exactly what you're
Word of
talking
mouth.
about. Word of
There
mouth.
is no better
People-
marketing.
Yeah, people saying, hey, like I found this cool thing and it's, you know, it's a mission that I believe in and you should check this out.
Right.
And I think that's
It's
like
more
one
real
of the,
that way.
yeah,
You know,
absolutely.
I love organic marketing.
Yeah, yeah.
It's just goes right back to the self-funded, do-it-yourself project kind of feeling. You know, it's that,
Right.
It's satisfying. You know, when you see people actually supporting you, it feels good. It's not they're not supporting you because you wrote them a big check. You know,
Right.
They're supporting you because they really believe in what you're doing.
Yes.
Right,
And that's
right,
huge.
It's so
Right.
huge.
Yeah, it's
It
huge.
is.
It's
So-
hugely important.
No, this is definitely this right here. What we're doing right now is so unique and so different than say our normal podcast. Because
Yeah.
like, you know, we're all in different parts of the world, and we're joining on a Zoom.
Yeah,
and we're all, we can look at each other and talk, but it's still not the same as meeting in person.
But like, it makes a big difference.
Right, it actually does. So getting out there, beating the pavement, and having fun doing it. That's what this is all about.
It's a good time.
Yeah, it's a good time.
Do you want to ask the question?
Oh, you want to ask it? Stick one in there. What are we going to go with this time? Let's go with, we asked eyes last time, so let's do hands.
Yeah.
If you're going to replace your hands with any household object, what would it be?
Oh man, if I were going to replace my hands with any household object, what would it be? And you said household object.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I mean, anything that's in the house is considered a household object, right?
Because I'm not going to lie, like my initial reaction, I don't know if this counts, is like, you guys remember Inspector Gadget?
Oh yeah.
Yep. Right? If I could have like kind of those like helicopter extensions on my hands, that would be able to like kind of float around and like get around LA traffic and traffic in the Bay Area, that's probably what I'd go for.
I'm not going to lie, that's the best answer we've had yet.
It is.
That's literally where my mind went. I was like,
it was outside the norm or realm of household items, but you could probably make propellers with household items. You guys are pretty crazy, so you could probably build about anything, right?
Yeah, we could figure that out.
I mean, if you can make a drone from scratch, I'm sure you could make helicopters.
So that would be my answer, and then I would be not stuck in traffic as much.
Awesome. You heard it, guys. Helicopter hands.
Helicopter hands coming after Pi. Coming to a place near you.
Right, exactly. Well, it's been a good time. Thanks for talking
really
to us,
great
man.
catching up
look
with
these
you
guys up. It was a pleasure to meet you. Look forward
great.
to spending some more time with you here
on
the event.
Very nice to meet you guys. Okay. Oh yeah, and by the way, if you want to get on the application, the URL is minepie.com. Okay, just go to minepie.com and mineti.com.
Okay.
Right, and then you'll be able to get on the app from there.
Awesome.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
All right, thanks so much, guys. All right, enjoy.
Have a great day.
We'll talk to you soon.
Wow, that was cool.
That was a good one. You guys, stay tuned. We got more coming up.
More coming up. Talk to you soon. Peace.
Hi everyone, this is Jason. Welcome back to the channel. My guest today is Vince McPhillip, Head of Community at PiNetwork. In addition to his work with Pi, Vince co-founded the Stanford Blockchain Collective, a group of 750 thought leaders, business people, engineers, and lawyers from across Stanford and Silicon Valley. Vince, welcome to the show.
Hello, Jason. Hey, thanks for having me, and hi to everyone out there that's viewing.
So, the first thing I want to ask you, and this is the question I usually ask first to all of my guests, is how did you first get into cryptocurrency?
How did I first fall into the rabbit hole? So I actually took a little bit of a circuitous path into cryptocurrency, actually. So a lot of my background has been in studying ways in which you can bring people together in a way in which the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. So I like to kind of call this designing collectively intelligent systems. And I've done this in a few different capacities. My first one was a design collective that I helped build at Yale, where we were basically crowdsourcing college apparel from people on campus and then having people vote on the best one and printing out the best voted designs. I actually then built a wellness collective in Boston, where I was working with yoga instructors, Tai Chi teachers, personal trainers to pool their skills together to better serve a cohort of patients and clients in Boston. And then eventually actually transitioned more into a nonprofit or NGO consulting role, where again, I was trying to help these organizations come together to be able to deploy their resources against collective challenges. So poverty, education, workforce development, those types of things. And the interesting thing is that the missing ingredient in each one of these things was that it seemed hard to be able to do good for the world while also doing well for yourself financially. It seems that for whatever reason, we live in a world in which there's a stark trade-off between when people are making contributions to a collective good and then what their own individual well-being is. And so it wasn't until I came to Stanford that I really started to kind of dive more deeply into the potential of cryptocurrencies and blockchains. And what I saw here was a financial instrument that we could design that would allow people to essentially collect those contributions that they were making to a community, but then also have an economic mechanism by which they could be rewarded for those contributions. And so really that's what took me into crypto. It's how do you build better economic incentives that reward people for making contributions to some type of collective good, and that's really how I kind of came into crypto, more from a social angle.
Oh, nice. Was Pi your first cryptocurrency blockchain related project, or was there anything that came before that kind of led into it?
Oh, good question. So I would say the first foray into cryptocurrency was actually a much more grassroots organization. So this was the Stanford Blockchain Collective that you mentioned earlier in the interview. And you can think of that as kind of like an open source educational movement that I helped found at Stanford that was dedicated to helping everyday people identify what cryptocurrency was and what role it could play in their lives, how it could make their lives better. In addition to doing that, I actually started to teach classes, so workshops to everyday people and business executives from around the world, again, trying to help them identify what the potential for this technology was and how it could make a real and meaningful difference in their lives. And it was in the course of kind of teaching that I then met my two co-founders, who are two PhDs from Stanford, and we basically started to come together to figure out, okay, like, let's not just tell, but let's show the power of this technology and actually directly bring it into people's lives, and that was the genesis of Pi.
Great. So tell me a little bit about Pi itself. I was looking at the website, and it's an app that allows you to mine crypto from your phone at a low energy cost. Mm-hmm. So was that important to you to begin with? The crypto has a reputation for being a high energy pool with mining, and like we were talking about earlier, it takes specialized equipment to do this profitably now. Right. So how is Pi changing that? How is Pi changing that, and also what's the goal of doing it that way? Are you trying to show a more sustainable option? But you define that.
Right. So, one thing that actually, let's start first with, why did we basically design Pi in the way that we did, right? And one of the things that came out of, our explorations as a team was that one of the most important value propositions or values of cryptocurrency, so blockchains to everyday people, was that there was this powerful instrument, again, that would allow them to capture greater value for the contributions that they make to the world.
Right.
And the ironic thing, though, is that, despite the fact that this is such a powerful thing that's so needed in today's world, right, where we're in a world of growing inequality and growing dissatisfaction, right, was that, the existing cryptocurrencies were far and away out of reach of everyday people, right? So if I wanted to basically acquire Bitcoin and start to kind of participate in this cryptocurrency economy, it meant that either I would have to, whip out like a 50-page manual and learn how to set up a server in my basement. Right. Or I would have to go on Coinbase or some other exchange and spend 3-4 months worth of rent to acquire the cryptocurrency. I mean, I live in San Francisco, so it's a little bit less. Maybe it's more like 2 months worth of rent in San Francisco. But yeah, so it just seemed like this huge disconnect, that this technology that was fundamentally about empowering everyday people was itself so far out of the reach of those people. And so that was a lot of the motivating question for Pi when we first started to design it, was how do we actually build a cryptocurrency that is more accessible and designed for the use by everyday people on the street. And so that's what led us to bring it onto mobile phones, led us to our novel consensus algorithm, and led us to the application that you see today.
Right. Well, and you bring up a good point about being usable by people, because you look at even in a down market, a single Bitcoin's over $8,000 right? right? So that's more likely to scare off new investors than it is to convince them to dig deeper into it. You know, so something that is easy to attain and on your phone, and something that is geared towards everyday use is, you know, a better entry for a lot of people. I mean, that's not to say that you can't buy, you know, you don't have to buy a complete Bitcoin to own.
Of course,
Bitcoin,
there's partial,
right?
yes, of course, right?
You know, it's you know, Satoshi's, you know, like you can buy a tenth of a Bitcoin, you know, that kind of thing, right?
Yeah, just to pick up on that point there, I think the key thing is not necessarily how much does it cost to buy either a full Bitcoin or a partial Bitcoin. It's almost more, what are you spending relative to the energy and effort that people expended in the past to earn the currency? And so many people are, you know, shocked today to learn that, you know, the earliest participants and the earliest miners in Bitcoin were essentially able to, you know, fire up a piece of software on their computers, right? Because they were so few miners at that time. And just, you know, leave it running while they were, whatever, going to the gym or, you know, eating dinner or what have you, and they would come back and there would be Bitcoin reward.
Bitcoin there, right?
Yeah, I mean, essentially at the cost of computing power, right? And so I think it's, you know, people often bring this up that it's like, yeah, of course, but you can buy less Bitcoin. I think I'm more focused on what is the, you know, the relative cost when you compare it to what the earliest participants in that system were able to earn. And of course, by the way, I really don't want to underestimate the leap that all of those folks took with Bitcoin, right? Imagine mining this digital currency, right? I mean, it was just completely, probably seemed ridiculous to most people at the time. So I don't want to, you know, I don't want to kind of trivialize the contributions that they've made to the space.
Right.
However, at the same time, I want to argue that we need to create systems in which a much larger portion of people can also participate in that type of system, and that's what Pi is trying to do.
Right. So let's talk a little bit more about the energy aspect. So there have been miners that had said that you could use them from your phone. So how does Pi deal with that being a low energy consuming application? How would you explain it to a layman how that's possible?
Absolutely. So the first thing to note here is that, you know, just as a quick review, essentially the problem that we're trying to solve for here is how you effectively secure a distributed ledger. Now, there are several ways in which you can do that. The most common way that people have heard of is a particular type of consensus algorithm called proof of work. Right. The challenge with a distributed ledger, right, that technically anyone can write to or read from, right, a community-owned ledger, is that you have to keep it safe, right? This is no longer locked up behind Bank of America's vault,
their vault.
These vaults, right? It's technically an open source piece of code. Anyone can go out there and essentially try to manipulate it, edit it, right? And then all of a sudden, you know, I could go on there and basically claim that all the Bitcoin in the world belongs to me, right? So the way that proof of work essentially secures these distributed ledgers is by imposing a cost to play, right? So if you want to write to this ledger, you need to expend energy or show that you have some skin in the game and that you really mean it when you're trying to update transactions, all right? So that's one approach of doing it, all right? And actually, when we were designing Pi and we kind of came to the conclusion that mining was fundamentally that was the application that we needed to open up for everyday people, we stepped back and we said, okay, we need to make mining more accessible, ideally something that can run on a mobile phone. We did a survey of different consensus algorithms or ways in which people are able to secure distributed ledgers, and found the Stellar consensus protocol, right? And what Stellar does is that it uses a different type of consensus algorithm called federated Byzantine agreements. And I'm going to do a vast oversimplification of this. My CTO, Nicholas Kokolas, who's a brilliant PhD from Stanford, would do a much better job, but I'll try to simplify it. The basic idea is that in these federated Byzantine agreements, each person creates a circle of people that they trust. So they elect essentially, let's say 3 to 5 people, and say, I will only agree to transactions that these 3 to 5 people agree to.
Okay.
And essentially what happens then is that the network essentially aggregates all of these quorums, or what we call in our application security circles, to determine who can and can't be trusted to execute transactions on the ledger.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So the result of that is that mining Pi, you're not establishing trustworthiness by having to burn a lot of energy on your phone or on your computer.
Right.
The way that you're contributing to the trust of the network is by providing information that you already know about who you do and don't trust in the world. And that's what actually powers Pi's consensus algorithm and will allow us to secure our distributed ledger. And so it's not an energy intensive process. It's almost the same amount of energy it takes to send a friend request on Facebook, right? With the difference being that there's a much smaller group of people that you need to identify.
What I like about what you're doing is you address that head on. Now, I think for a lot of people, what it takes to mine cryptocurrency is as an afterthought now, because most of us, when we would get it, we don't do it that way anymore. We go to some chain, we go to some app that lets you just buy it. We don't think that there's a server farm in China that's like, a block long, and all they're doing is mining Bitcoin, that, right? So I'm glad that Pi is addressing that head on. So thank you for explaining that to us.
Of course.
So can I ask you about the blockchain collective? Is that it's regional to the Bay Area, but is there a plan to expand that to other schools?
Yeah, good question. So the blockchain collective actually recently merged with another club at Stanford. So it's now called the Stanford Blockchain Club, and it's a student-run organization that is essentially dedicated to educating and advancing the knowledge of both students, at Stanford, obviously, but also the broader Silicon Valley area. I think one of the reasons that we started the blockchain collective, so this was back in 2017, was because it felt like there was really a gap in the market, in a sense, right? In the sense that, Stanford has a very deep technical background. So obviously a lot of the actual core technology of cryptography was actually originally developed at Stanford. And when I was there as a student of business school, there was a very proficient, kind of more technical club that was dedicated to studying cryptocurrencies. And so the blockchain collective was formed as a way in which, again, there's a common theme here. Everyday people would be able to participate, learn, and contribute to again, what I like to think of as an open source educational movement. And one of the important things I would say, that was an important founding principle of the blockchain collective and continues to be an important principle of Pi, is one of inclusivity. Okay, cryptocurrencies are a technology, a product, a movement, some might say, that intersects across many fields, many disciplines, and has the potential to affect potentially everyone's life, on the planet. And that means that we need experts and contributors from computer science, from mathematics, to mobile application development, to psychology, to economics, to politics, to governments. And so that was really one of the big motivating principles of the blockchain collective, and why that group grew so quickly and was able to serve such a wide audience. And that's one of the motivating principles of Pi as well.
Like I say, technology removes limitations, right?
Right.
So there's jobs to be had in blockchain technology. There's, people can create the next great app. They can come work for startups and get their feet in the door where they couldn't go to IBM or Apple, do the same thing,
Right.
So it's good that the collective's out there, and hopefully, I'm really hoping that you guys expand down to Southern California soon, because we have some college kids that need to learn how this stuff works.
Absolutely.
So my last question is, what's next for Pi? Like, what's the next phase of development?
Good question. So, you know, one thing is that it's been a pretty remarkable run just over the course of the last 6 months. You know, so we took the application out of beta it's in beta. We took it out of stealth on March 14th, 2019. And since then, you know, we've added hundreds of thousands of people into the platform from every corner of the world. When I look at the next steps for Pi, there's still a lot of low-hanging fruit for us to harvest when it comes to improving the mobile application experience. We're still very much in this, you know, in more of a beta phase when it comes to that experience, and we want to really kind of improve that over time. We also want to start to experiment with ways in which we can deepen the social features of this cryptocurrency. So that's one thing that's a little bit new and different about Pi. We think of ourselves as a social cryptocurrency. And right now in the application, for example, there are communications channels and chats and lots of activity from people, you know, connecting with each other from around the world.
Right.
And we really want to be able to build on top of that. At this point, one of the biggest, you know, priorities for me and what's on my mind is essentially starting to expand the Pi team, the core team at Pi, in order to meet the growing demand from the people that we're serving all around the world. So if there are any, you know, intrepid pioneers out there that are interested in contributing more deeply to the project, feel free to reach out to us through our landing page, which is mindpi.com.
And also, the right now there's an invite function on there.
Right.
Is that going to change soon, or would they still need to reach out to get access to demo of the platform?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, so part of the reason that we have the invite function inside the application is actually also a security feature. Okay. One of the challenges that you'll face in any kind of cryptocurrency, or frankly any kind of digital system, is essentially ensuring that it remains trusted and ensuring that there are always real and trusted people that are participating in the process.
Right.
Part of why we have the invitation layer right now is that we need to be able to understand who people are being invited by, because we have a lot of like almost professional firms in the world, for example, that are creating server or phone farms with Pi, right? And so that's something that we want to leave in place for the foreseeable future. If anybody needs to get into the application, it is still an inclusive application. So if anybody needs to get in, you can always use the Pi core team, you know, invitation code, or maybe Jason, if you have a code, they can use yours as well.
Yeah, and I will link that in the description, and so that you guys can check it out. So Vince, thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate you doing this with me. Where can we find you on social media?
Oh, good question. So it's funny, I haven't typically maintained a massive social media presence personally to date, although there are lots of folks that are asking for that. So Pi itself has social media presence, which you can find from our landing page as well on both Facebook and Instagram for now. And I will presumably be, you know, kind of linked to those. You know, you can probably find me through there as well.
All right, great. So everyone, I'm going to put the links to PiNetwork in the description below, as well as their socials. Once again, Vince, thank you so much for taking the time out to speak with me. Going to be up in San Francisco at the end of the month, or San Francisco Blockchain Week. Hopefully we can get together and chat a little bit more.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, I'll look forward to that. Jason, thanks so much for the time, for the questions, and I'm looking forward to meeting you in person.
Who's the man behind Pi?
So tell you a little bit about myself.
Sure.
To kick off. So I'm a recent graduate from Stanford. Did my MBA there. Have actually spent a lot of my time in community organizing, grassroots organizing, doing nonprofit work. And a lot of what led me into the crypto rabbit hole was the idea that you could use cryptocurrencies and blockchains to more sustainably fund social good, right? We live in a world where the people that tend to try to do good for society often end up like with no money in their bank account, for better or for worse, right? And so when I first, kind of stumbled into Bitcoin and started to see kind of these communities growing up around Bitcoin and Ethereum, these other cryptocurrencies, I said, hey, there's a really powerful economic tool that we may be able to potentially leverage to address some of the social ills that we have in the world. So growing wealth inequality, you have people that are increasingly feeling left behind by the economy and how it works. And so I founded a group at Stanford called the Stanford Blockchain Collective, which was about 750 Stanford students that were studying blockchain and cryptocurrencies and trying to understand what the real impact could be for everyday people. And after that, basically teamed up with 2 PhDs from Stanford to bring cryptocurrency to the masses and everyday people, and that was the beginning of Pi.
Okay, so, I mean, I'm definitely with you. Mass adoption is the key. If we don't get a lot of people using this stuff, we're not doing anything here. So, but why Pi? Why a project? And what's different about Pi? What do you?
Absolutely. So, so my teammates and I, we were basically asking this question of like, okay, what would it really take for us to bring cryptocurrencies to the masses? And we did a kind of a design-inspired, user-centric, human-centric design process to understand what were the real obstacles or barriers to cryptocurrency adoption and how could you actually solve those. And what we found is that first of all, it was just too damn hard to use, right? It's too hard to access for everyday people. And then the second thing is that the value proposition wasn't incredibly clear for people. They weren't sure exactly what cryptocurrency was or why it would make a difference for them outside of the folks that were, making money really in more speculative use cases. So trading and all that type of stuff.
Right.
And so we came to the conclusion that we really needed to be able to build a cryptocurrency from the ground up that was more accessible and that would give people access to what we see as kind of the killer app for blockchain, which is mining. Being able to basically contribute and participate in securing a distributed ledger and earning cryptocurrency rewards for that. And so Pi basically reimagines Bitcoin from the ground up in a way that is much more user-friendly, much easier for people to use, much more fun and much more accessible.
Okay. Now, you said, you referenced Bitcoin there. Is this, so is Pi, programmatically, are we talking about a project that's built on top of Bitcoin, or are we talking about a layer 1 blockchain? Is this a layer 2 to Ethereum? Tell me
absolutely.
what we're talking about here.
So we actually, it is a layer 1 solution. It's actually something that we actually want to eventually be full stack.
Yeah.
And the reason that we made that choice is because we believe that we actually needed to make blockchain and this cryptocurrency accessible literally from the protocol layer all the way up. We actually needed to make mining the currency and the consensus algorithm something that was also intuitive and accessible to people. And listen, I'm a huge fan of Bitcoin, and I'm very happy for proof of work and the fact that it's expensive, and that's what basically keeps me sleeping at night, right? Knowing that my Bitcoin will be secure. And at the same time, we have to acknowledge that the everyday person isn't going to, pick up a 20-page manual and learn how to set up a server in their home to mine Bitcoin, right? If they want to have a good shot at it. And so Pi uses a completely different consensus algorithm that essentially allows everyday people to actually participate in the process of securing the currency and to mine the currency from the convenience of a mobile phone application.
Okay, so you guys have built a new blockchain.
Yes, we're in the process of building it.
Okay,
yes.
So layer 1 protocol. And, so is it, if you're able to mine from your cell phone, now, when Bitcoin was launched, I'm sure you could have mined from your cell phone if mobile development would have been where it was then that it is today.
Right.
So, are you taking a proof of work approach, or what is your consensus approach?
Yeah, exactly. So actually the first thing I'll say is that a lot of people actually don't realize that in the early days of Bitcoin, you could essentially mine the currency for the cost of computing power, right? So you could fire up just a PC, or even, back then potentially a mobile phone, and you would have been able to earn upwards of 10 Bitcoin every, or 50 Bitcoin, 50 Bitcoin every 10 minutes, right? So it's like, that would have been a nice situation.
You're earning more than 10 right now.
Yeah,
for
exactly.
A few more months.
Yeah, until I think it's May 2020, right? So so for Pi, what we did is we had to take a step back from proof of work because it's fundamentally not very easy for people. Nobody wants to burn their battery, basically like mining cryptocurrency.
Just got a new phone yesterday.
Okay, yeah, right. Exactly.
Too much YouTube.
Yeah,
Too much YouTube.
Yeah, sure, right. And so basically what we're doing is we're taking the Stellar consensus protocol.
Okay.
And part of this, by the way, is we actually did a survey of different consensus protocols, right, to understand what would be the most user-friendly, what would be the most easy to use and access. And Stellar kind of rose to the top. And the way that Stellar works, it's based on something called federated Byzantine agreements. And you can think of this as a progressive voting mechanism, where people go into the Stellar network, you can spin up a node, and then you identify other nodes in the network, and you say, I will only agree to transactions that these 3 people agree to. And essentially, as each node does that, it kind of aggregates into what you might think of as almost like a global trust graph of sorts, right? And so the upside of this then is that cryptocurrency mining is not about burning a lot of energy to prove your trustworthiness. It's based more on leveraging your existing social connections and providing information about who in the world you can and can't trust. And that's how we're enabling people to mine the currency from mobile devices.
So in that sense, so with Pi, you would open up the app because we're talking about mobile. You spin up a node and you choose who you want to trust in the node, the Stellar federated consensus, and the status of sharing the information of who you trust is the mining process?
Exactly.
Okay.
Right.
That way that information can be distributed across the network and other people can build their federated trust systems kind of based off that available
Exactly.
data.
And then the plan is also to eventually have PC nodes as well, right? Which will be responsible for validating transactions. And the idea there is that the graph that gets built by all these mobile phone users is the key input that allows the PC nodes then to understand who can and can't be trusted, who can and can't, whose transactions should and shouldn't be validated.
Sure. Great, man.
Yeah.
Where can people find out more about Pi?
Just go to our landing page. It's minepi.com.
MinePi.
Minepi.com. Very simple. That's Pi, as in the Greek letter pi. And it's been a really exciting run actually. So we came out of stealth, you could say, on March 14th. So Pi Day 3/14 of 2019. And basically since May, we've now added over 1 million people to the platform.
Cool.
So when it comes to this concept of like mass adoption and cryptocurrency, Pi is actually well on its way to being one of the world's most widely distributed and used cryptocurrencies. So it's been a very, very exciting few months, and we're just getting started. So we're
cool, awesome.
Yeah.
What do you think's going on with cryptocurrency right now? You know, we've had a pretty good year. So, Where do you think we're headed?
I mean, I think that we're in the kind of maturation phase, I think, of cryptocurrency. Obviously, the 2016, 2017 bull market and bubble, as some would call it, was a very exuberant time, you should say, in the crypto space, right? Good time for traders, actually.
Good time for traders.
Right? I think we're now kind of getting to a place where the rubber starts to, hit the road, right? And this is when the true believers are really going to kind of emerge and are going to be doing that really hard work to start to bring real utility to everyday people with this technology. And I think that that's the fundamental challenge. I'm very excited about the long-term prognosis for cryptocurrency and blockchains. I think that we need this technology more now than we ever have before. And at the same time, I'm being realistic about the challenges of really demonstrating the power of this technology to everyday people. I think that the holy grail is basically what I think we're trying to tackle with PiNetwork, which is true mainstream mass adoption and true utility, which is why people actually use this stuff. So I think that that's basically, if there's a theme for 2020, I think it's both, it's build, sure, but also like have people use.
Get it in the hands of people.
Yeah, we got to do that, man. It's like, we have to make this a lot more concrete for everyday people, and that's what's really going to catalyze the next wave of crypto adoption.